And welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers. More importantly, Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers The Rising event, which I'm hoping I'm going to the right place for. Message in a bottle. I'm guessing that is it. I am reliably informed that this is worthy of a video, if for nothing else than to see my reaction to the emotional events that always pop up around this time. The Rising event is the, as you saw in the text there, it's the anniversary event. It's the anniversary event of A Realm Reborn's launch, but in-game it is the anniversary of the calamity where Bahamut arrived and basically wrecked everything. So, I'm going to see today what this is. What actually is today? It's the 2nd of September. I'm a bit slow on the starting of this, as I often tend to be. A brave new stoler, Pobbiano, would seek your aid in a matter of grave import. Well, if it isn't the shining star who sets so many hearts aflame with her high-flying feats at the Moonfire Fair. Thanks in no small part to your contributions, we were able to close the curtain on this year's festivities in style. Though the revelry and rejoicing may have ended, needless to say, there's still plenty of work left to be done. Speaking of which, would you be averse to lending a fatigued festival attendant a helping hand? While we were favoured with spectacular crowds again this year, I fear that comes with an unfortunate after effect. Which is to say, this beautiful beach remains cluttered with an unsightly amount of rubbish and refuse, much more so than I could ever hope to gather up on my own. While I realise this is a rather trivial task to impose upon an adventurer of your stature, would you be so kind as to help me tidy up a bit? It really would mean everything to me. Should you find any discarded items, simply return them here to me. I'll sort through them and see that they're disposed of in a proper fashion. We can do this. I'm all for having fun, but can't they learn to pick up after themselves? Oh, isn't that a sticking point? Small anecdote. Just because I'm in the mood for anecdotes, and because it is very close to the start of term, I regularly have disputes with students who I've caught discarding things upon the floor that there is a perfectly reasonable bin for them to throw, you know, pencil sharpenings in or sweet wrappers in if I've caught them eating in class, or they've torn the page out of the dictionary or whatever and just left it on the floor. And more unsavoury characters will reply, "We've got cleaners for that." And that kind of attitude sits very, very badly with me. We have cleaners for that. As in, it is perfectly okay for me to make somebody else's job harder than it needs to be because they are being paid for it. It's that kind of selfishness that really... There are two things in schools that really annoy me. Bullying and all of the kind of derogatory statements and issues that come with it. Racism, sexism, and so on and so forth. Not meaning to belittle any of those things by my rather dismissive, moving past this point tone, because I won't stand for any of that shit, if you'll pardon my French. But yeah, this idea that because there are cleaners in restaurants and bars and everywhere else that, oh, they're being paid to do it, so why should we do their job for them? Because you put the bloody thing on the floor. You dropped it. You pick it up. It's not difficult. It's just manners and common courtesy, and apparently that is just not a thing, or as much of a thing anymore. Anyway, this is supposed to be a Final Fantasy XIV video, not a Demajen gets up on his soapbox video. But yeah, littering, when there are bins so readily available in our society. Fly tipping is a bit of an issue around where I live. There was a thing in the paper recently about how the council needs more money because people are just fly tipping. We've got a perfectly good tip. A a waste disposal site. I'm not entirely sure what the American term for it is. I don't even know if you have them. Yeah, about a mile, maybe 2 miles away from where I live. Perfectly good tip. You can get there pretty much whenever you want within opening hours. You can go and dump whatever you stuff there. Nope, people will just dump it on the ground. Rusty fishing rod. Paper scrap. These look like dictionary pages. Ugh. The number of students who feel like dictionaries, which schools provide for them to use so that they can educate themselves, enrich their vocabulary and grammar. It's like, why do we need to learn all these fancy words? You don't need to learn them, but the more you know, the better able you are to communicate. I'm really on my soapbox this morning, aren't I? You're here to watch entertaining Final Fantasy content. Also, where's the music? The music is on. Welcome back! I can already see that the beach is looking cleaner for your efforts. I'd be happy to take any of the discarded items you picked up off your hands. Paper scrap, rusty fishing rod, empty bottle. Thank you, friend. We truly appreciate your efforts. After all, it just wouldn't do to launch the celebratory fireworks over a beach littered with jetsam and junk. Well now, what have we here? This appears to be an ordinary bottle, but is this a letter inside? How curious. Well, I do believe I'll take a closer look. Netherland, Heaven Spew Crimson, Seep Black Doom, Stray Seeds, Valiant. It's no use. The ink is smudged in so many places, deciphering the letters in full is all but impossible. That said, all this talk of heaven spewing crimson and seeping black dooms, it's all very pleasant. It isn't very pleasant, is it? Wait, I just had a thought. What if this is a message, a warning of sorts intended to help us forestall an impending calamity? Perhaps I'm overthinking this, but better safe than sorry, wouldn't you say? Well, I've half a mind to take off immediately to investigate further myself. Sadly, I still have another half of a beach here to clean. Please, might you be so kind as to look into the letter on my behalf? My friend Bran in LIMSALOMINSA, he's a veteran reporter for the Venerable Harbour Herald. Just happens to be an expert on cryptic poems and prophecies. I'm sure he'd be able to tell you something about it. I'm terribly sorry to burden you with yet another menial task like this, but the fate of the realm may very well be at stake. And wherever this leads, I promise to compensate you properly for your labours. Safe travels, friend. We haven't agreed to it yet. Now we have. We have tapped our chest. Leave it to me. Deliver the letter to Bran. Whereabouts in LIMSA is he? Upper decks? That looks very upper decks-ish. In fact, is Bran the guy that we spoke to before we got here? Yes. Yes, it is. To the aft castle. Onwards and quite literally upwards. Oh no, it is not that person. He is the man next to the sign. Well, slap me silly with harbour herring. If it isn't the adventurer who tossed a few breadcrumbs to this Gasman who's just a little bird learning to take wing. Tell me, what brings you back to Bran's hunting grounds? An enigmatic missive? Bran wondering about this letter, you say? Well, you couldn't have come to a better place. Hand it over, my good woman, and let Bran see what he can't glean for you. By running away. Did Bran know it, or did Bran know it? There's no mistaking these chocobo scratches. This is the quillmanship of none other than that roving minstrel of no small repute. Oh, great. As for the content of the letter, why, it's none other than a particularly portentous passage from the 7th verse of the Divine Chronicles as written by Messiah Thousand Eyes so many years ago. If you care to hear it, old Bran would be happy to perform a dramatic reading of the full words. Ne'er till land consumes sun can see bare moons. Heavens spew crimson flame, hell's seep black dooms. Stray seeds quicken in ashes grey embrace. Valiant blades forged under the 12's good grace. Pretty ominous, to say the least, no? But I wouldn't be worrying over much. Scholars posit that this was a prophecy foretelling the 7th humble calamity, which, as we all know, has come and long since gone. And thank the 12 for that. As for why our minstrelling friends saw fit to scribble this down, bottle it, and toss it into the sea, well, why don't we saunter on over to UL'DAH and ask the good man himself? After all, what with it being the rising and all, it's as good an occasion as any to reflect upon the rebirth of our realm. I don't think I was prepared for this today. I have spent my morning doing safeguarding certification. So that was 2.5 hours of reminding myself of proper procedures. Don't get me wrong, all very important stuff for the safeguarding students under our care. But if any of you have ever done any kind of certification thing where things are very important, the material tends to be a little bit dry and, in the case of this stuff, a little bit on the emotional side. The Wandering Minstrel. Does he ever move from here? Well met, my friends. Might I interest you in a song? Oh, an interview with the Harbour Herald, you say? You do this humble minstrel a great honour. I would be happy to oblige, but be forewarned, there may be matters which I am not at liberty to divulge. But of course, anything and everything you'd be willing to tell me and my colleague here, old Bran, would be nothing but appreciative. Well, my friends, I must say, this brings me back a ways. I did indeed scribe this letter many, many years ago, before the calamity described therein came to pass. With disaster looming nigh, I sojourned in a small farming village just a stone's throw from Bloodshaw, near what is now Costa del Sol, though none called it by that name in those times. I spent night and day penning countless letters identical to this one. I placed each one in a bottle and cast them into the sea in hopes of warning Eorzeans far and wide about the realm's impending doom. Many of my adventurer acquaintances assisted me in the task. To think that one of those letters would find its way to you after so many years. Yes, fate works in mysterious ways. Is that something that we did in 1.0? I can't remember. It's been a good few years. And to be fair, a lot of the stuff from 1.0 I've kind of scratched from my mind. Why, yes, I do believe that my muse stirs within me. If you might indulge me for a moment. Mom. Ah! The ethereal sea! Oh, hello. Hold on. It's the me's of yesteryear. Though, of course, we didn't actually look like this previously. It's us from the various expansions. Greetings, warrior of lights. You needn't be alarmed. This is a world that exists outside your reality. Could it be a dream? A flight of fancy conjured by your weary mind? That's me this morning. Perhaps. Or perhaps not. It's a pleasure to welcome you here again, old friend. Or shall I call you the Warrior of Darkness? In any event, it's been quite the adventure we've shared, you and I. My history, of course, with Final Fantasy XIV is longer than a lot of people's. I was in the version 1 alpha test. I was one of the first people to ever get to see Final Fantasy XIV and the horrendously broken state it was in. I still have feedback notes from back in 2010, was it? I can't even remember now. Detailing a lot of the issues that I foresaw with the game. So one of the reasons why I've kept on coming back to it is because I have history. It's the same with things like classic World of Warcraft, although in the case of that, I haven't been playing any classic yet because the nostalgia for classic WoW for me has been superseded by the improvements made over the years. Final Fantasy XIV, I still have got my version 1 collector's edition, the collector's edition that has character creation lauded as a feature on the back of the box for an MMO. So the progress that the game has made from 1.0 and before, releasing in such a broken state, going through the various patches up to 1.23 where things started finally coming together, the announcements that they were remaking the game from scratch, the alpha and beta testing for 2.0, which of course I was also involved in. It has been a long journey, and therefore every time the Rising comes around, it's always a reminder of just how much the game has changed, just how far the game has come. And that is the point of the Rising event. It's a celebration of this was a disaster. This was a calamity. Look what we have now been able to build from it. Look at what we have learned. Look how far we have come. And Shadowbringers, as an expansion, has leaped itself, to quote Macbeth, towards the very top of not just Final Fantasy XIV, but the Final Fantasy series as a whole. It is now one of my favourite Final Fantasy experiences. It's up there with 4 and 6 for me as the absolute height of storytelling in these games. Now, I know I'm quite outspoken in the sense that I'm not a massive fan of 7. Don't get me wrong, I like 7. I think it is overhyped. I think it is placed too high on a pedestal. I quite like 9. I rather like 8 because it was my first. I like 12. I like all of them to varying degrees. Of course, anybody that's played them does. But Shadowbringers, right up there in terms of storytelling. I'm waxing lyrical again, aren't I? But it has been quite... That's where I got started. It has been quite the adventure. Whilst when I edit this together, I will put up various screenshots and stuff. If I can find some, I almost certainly can, of my progress through the game and any alpha and beta stuff that I've got, because I do have some. Don't know whether I'm supposed to share them because I did sign an NDA, but I suspect that's lapsed by now. Yes, I'm a legacy character for a reason. Oh, how the years have flown by since I crossed the rifts to this world. I trust that your adventures here yet stir your heart and nourish your soul. If you've watched my Shadowbringers reactions, you know very well it stirs the heart and soul. We're still here, just as ever, scribing the events that will go down in the history of this vast realm. A job, of course, that we could not do were it not for your extraordinary exploits. One might even say that just as you've embarked on your adventures, we have also been on adventure of our own. Each adventure brings meetings and partings and countless trials that must be overcome. The task is never an easy one, but at journey's end we emerge stronger, more enlightened, and closer to the individuals we want to be. And such is the nature of life and trials and circumstance. Hopefully they all create a stronger, more resilient individual. For this reason and many more, this world we share with you, is near and dear to our hearts as nothing else could be. And so I will remain here, singing of your great deeds, those that have come to pass and those that are yet a dream, and together we will tell a tale that will live on long after we are gone. I wonder if you're not a legacy character, I wonder if the 1.0 version of you shows up in this. I imagine it does. There's so many of us. Now, the time has come for this vision to end. Time for your eyes to open from this waking dream. Kind of feel like the windfish's sound needs to play there. That was terrible. In truth, there are others who have messages they wish to share with you. But do not worry, we shall find a way. Ever will we be watching over you. Guide the realm into peace and happiness, Warrior of Darkness. Till next we meet. Thank you, Yoshida and team. What a song! Why, that has to be the most mellifluous, moving composition that I've ever heard. You've outdone yourself this time, my minstrel friend. Well, I best get back to the Herald and put pen to parchment before I go forgetting the words. Be seeing you, friend, and tell tell the Mithra, Mikote, even, yeah, I'm old. The greatest Gaz and LIMSA sends his regards. Pabanio? I don't know. The calamity took much from us, but Eorzea rose from the rubble and ashes to stand as strong today as ever she has. And to you, whose courage and devotion will see our realm to an even brighter tomorrow, I dedicate this song. O hero of rebirth traversing, hail you this scarred land. Lay bare cloistered truths and tame the skies, let azure guide your hand. O hero of rebirth traversing, break you the tyrant's bonds, embrace your sin and chase the lights, to darkness a world will dawn. That does not rhyme, but 'tis pretty nevertheless. And of course the fireworks start, as they have done each year so far. When the calamity raised this land, the Eorzea we once knew was lost to us forever. And yet the realm as it once was lives on to this day in the hearts of those who call it home. So it is that in this season of remembrance my thoughts turn to those who are with us no more, and to the world that they left behind. But it's truly knowing and understanding our past that allows us to stride confidently toward our future. As always, while we can never regain all that was lost to us, we can remember, and let those memories give us the strength to forge our way to a brighter tomorrow. This is why we observe the rising. Remember us. Remember that we once lived. That's the thing about the Rising event. It always brings with it feelings. Feelings of remembrance. Feelings of looking toward the future. It truly is the event that makes you think about the full breadth of your experiences with the game. If you're new to Final Fantasy XIV, then the Rising might seem like a bit of an odd event. It's like you'd have to read up on what it's for, what its purpose is. A Rising vendor. But for somebody who's been with the game since basically the start, obviously it's an event that holds a lot more weight. Ah, there you are. I was wondering when you'd be back. Was Bran able to help you puzzle out the meaning of that ominous missive? He was. A years-old message to warn the people of the seventh and calamity, say? Phew. And here I was worried we were facing our impending doom all over again. At any rate, I owe you something for going above and beyond the call of duty for me today. This might not be much, but please take it with my most sincere gratitude. What? Why do you have a wind-up Y'shtola? Not want to run from her troubles and couldn't get very far anyway. Hobbiano. Speaking of which, it's the strangest thing. Ever since you left, we've had more and more of these bottles come floating in with the tide. I'm pleased to say that this time the words are not ominous in the least, and judging from the penmanship, it seems they come from a variety of senders. Yeah, messages in bottles seem to be all the rage these days, which would be all well and good if I weren't stuck with the task of keeping these sands shiny and spotless. Which gives me an idea. If you're curious about the contents of the letters, perhaps you'd be willing to help me pick up a few of them. I'll even throw in a token provided by the festival authorities for each bottle you bring to me. What the token's good for? What the token's good for, you asked? Well, they can be exchanged for a veritable bounty as simply delightful seasonal goods with the Rising vendor. Take my word for it. It'll be more than worth your while. It's 6s and 7s. Alright, what does the Rising vendor say? Welcome! We've assembled a veritable host of exclusive seasonal goods for any and all adventurers who are willing to lend us a hand in cleaning up the beach. Should you have any tokens on hand, I encourage you to peruse our wares. Right, so we've got some pictures. We've got a lot of different consumables. And we've got the various artwork that we can put on our walls from past quests, by the look of it. All in all, stuff that we can do. Messages from distant shores. Pobiano's work is not yet done, which means that neither is yours. After all you've already done, you're still willing to lend poor Pobiano a helping hand? You truly are a saint. That shark is very disturbing. Or perhaps you're just curious to find out what these letters say. I couldn't blame you for that. I am too. Anyhow, with how many of them are washing in these days, I don't suppose they'll be too hard to find. Bring back to me what you found, and I'll open them right up. My nails are quite suited for the task, mind you, so you can read the message at your leisure. I'm wondering if there is going to be any interesting story and lore. Message in a bottle. The other bottles appear to be washed away with the tide. If you make me feel more game. That message a bottle I see in your hands, or are you just happy to... Really? Splendid. Doing your part to clean up the beach, I'm more than happy to furnish you with this spiffy, shiny, absolutely official Rising token. You want to hold on to it and acquire even more if you can, so that you can exchange them for any of our wide array of exclusive festival goods and accessories available from our vendor. I just want to know what's in the bottle. In the meantime, why don't you take the letter and find a quiet spot around here to read it? I imagine that gazing up at the fireworks over the sea would do an excellent job of setting the scene. They're building up to this. Whoever wrote this, and wherever they are, no doubt they want nothing more than for their words to reach an adventurer like you. Ah. Hello, Bob. Small bottle, letter 6. We have no strength to lend you in battle, nor can we craft wondrous items to serve you in your adventures. We can't help you win a fortune at the Gold Saucer, nor can we lift your spirits with a happy tune. At the end of the day, all we can truly offer is companionship. Whatever small comfort you can derive from knowing that we'll always be at your side. And yet, for some reason, a reason for which we can only thank the gods, that's enough for you. And so, we thank you, our friend, our master. Simply say the word and we will follow you to the ends of the world and beyond. For you mean more to us than you will ever know. Ever your faithful companions. Your minions. Oh. Oh. Thank you, minions. You delightful little terrors, you. And we do more. Are there multiple messages that we can get? And if so, I want to hear them all. Oh yes, there are 3 different bottles, I've just realised. That means there are 2 more opportunities for feelings. Are we going to get a letter from our chocobo? Because that'd be weird. Is this the same text? Yes, it is. Bam, 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 bam. That was slightly out of key. Story of my life. I was expecting this to be a short video. Nope. Cactoire! To those who make a living in the world of the stage, audience reactions are everything. Each joyous cry, each shed tear, we feel it with you, our audience, and then some. Even when the reviews are harsh, we do not look away. We listen to and reflect upon your every word, each time vowing to use it to provide more powerful and effective performances going forward. This is from the developers. There are times when the poets and playwrights ask more of us than we feel capable of providing, but never do we back down from a challenge. Everything we do it for you. We thank you for being an ever-appreciative audience. Yours in gratitude, a humble stage director. Yeah, so that's from the writing team or the development team? They who are responsible for taking the story ideas and turning it into actual content, which must be incredibly difficult, especially considering the spaghetti code that 14 is built on. Right. I'm assuming one last one, unless there are more. Message in a large bottle. The other bottles have washed away. Yes. From whom is the large bottle? Banjo! Fabiano? Pop. I can't do names. Yes, I'm a writer who can't do names. From whom are you, letter? Not sure about the grammar of that statement now I've said it out loud. Police. I'd been a member of the Resistance for years. Not that we ever had much luck against the Garleans. It felt like we went from one defeat to the next, our numbers growing smaller each time. But that all changed when you and the Alliance arrived. Your brave deeds turned the tide not only here in Alamigo, but all the way over in Doma, from what I've heard. I'll bet those Imperials hardly knew what had hit them. Even though the fighting here has come to an end, we face a hard road ahead. We'll need to band together as never before if we're to heal the wounds inflicted upon our land by the Garleans. And yet we have faith. After all, it's you and your comrades who've given us this chance, and we'll be damned if we let it go to waste. You have our gratitude, hero. Ever your comrade on the battlefield, a former fighter of the Resistance. Sadly, Stormblood didn't have quite the emotional impact that Heaven's Ward and Shadowbringers did. And I think it was because of that split narrative. As I talked about in my my playthrough of Shadowbringers, just want to see if there's other things, or if these are just going to repeat. Yeah, I enjoyed Stormblood. It was a great expansion. Don't get me wrong. But story-wise, just not as up there. Right, is this going to repeat on us? Bam, bam. Oh, it's got a different minion. Oh, gold. There's different letters. Okay. How quickly the years have flown by since we first set up that message board on an unassuming street corner. Seeing the many and myriad words written there every day never fails to fill our hearts with joy and gratitude. Perhaps most enjoyable of all to read are the announcements of various festivities organised by adventurers, gatherings of fellow clansmen, adventurous journeys to far-flung lands, and all sorts of delightful events. We tip our caps to the passionate adventurers who pour their heart and soul into organising these things. One might liken them to a lodestone, drawing people in and bringing like minds together wherever they go. Finally, we would express our thanks to all of you who took the time to keep diaries of your journeys. It is a pleasure and an honour both to have the privilege of sharing in your adventures. With best wishes, the keepers of the message boards. So those are the web team who keep the lodestone updated and running, and all of the course player blogs that are posted on there. There we go. Right, I'm going to keep on doing small ones until... I wonder how many messages there are. Enough to get everything from the vendor, I would assume. Though, considering how easy this quest is to do... that shouldn't be difficult. Monkey King! Small bottle, letter 4. I still remember the day. Fresh off the boat after a long voyage across the Ruby Sea, I strode into the gleaming gold saucer. Found an open space in one of the parlours, set up my table and began to stack my tiles atop it. Anxiety gripped me to the depths of my body and soul. What if Eorzeans had no interest in the dome and diversion I sought to provide? Would my long journey prove to be for naught? Fortunately, my worries soon melted away. Within hours, the Mandeville tables were teeming with visitors, locals and travellers from far abroad alike, each more eager than the next to try their hand at the time-honoured game of Mahjong. I've still not completed the introductory quest for this. I am no mighty adventurer. There is only so much I can do for this realm, and so I hope that in some small way the game I teach can serve to lighten adventurers' days and relieve them from the many burdens they bear. Until we meet at the tables, an anonymous Mahjong tutor. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. Mahjong? I don't know. But yeah, I've still literally got the introductory quest in my inventory. Isn't it called Everything They Do Is Mahjong or something? Where is it? Yeah, every little thing she does is Mahjong. Yeah. La la la. Yeah, keeps on going. Whilst it is a quick and easy quest, getting through all of them might be a tad time consuming. Bum, bum. I'm actually just going to Google. Ow. That is not how you spell how. How many messages in bottles in Rising 2019? The other day, at the Aetherite Plaza, I happened upon a minstrel cheerfully strumming a tune before an admiring crowd of adventurers and townspeople. Impromptu concerts like these have been happening more and more of late, and I dare say nothing fills our hearts with joy quite like seeing people of all ages, backgrounds and walks of life bonding over a love of music. This is to do with the performance feature. To all the talented composers and instrumentalists out there, we thank you for providing a soundtrack to stir our own hearts. We hope that the music of Eorzea has served to render your adventures even richer and more memorable. Ever in harmony with you, a humble instrument maker. So I'm apparently 18. Yeah, the performance feature is actually really good. Every time I go to LIMSA, there's pretty much always somebody doing some kind of performance around the Aetherite, and some of them are really, really good. It's amazing because the system, when it first introduced, was quite limited and very much seen as a gimmick. And even now, there are still concerns from Square Enix about, copyright and so on and so forth. But, people just want to create music and show off and really kind of put things together. I saw actually a crowd of 4 people at one point who'd actually synchronized everything to perform a really complicated piece. It was very impressive. And people are creative. And having an outlet for creativity. Hold on, this one seems... Ah, no, we've seen this one. That's from my minions. So I guess they're just going to... Well, there are clearly going to be more of them, but I'm not going to talk my way through all of that. That there, folks, is the Rising event. And what a nice, uplifting event it has been. I'm going to keep on going. I'm just not going to sit here and record them all and read them all out. Because I feel like that will take the best part of the afternoon. As you can see from the corner, it is 12:38 PM. And I do have other things that I need to do today. Yeah, the Rising, a celebration of rebirth, a celebration of the game, a celebration of the players, a celebration of the talent and creativity of the developers. And one of their few real opportunities, not abilities, one of their few opportunities to actually talk to us in game. Through these beautifully translated and well thought through notes. Rahatia! Oh no! I snuck this letter on board a certain apparatus before it was sent hurtling backwards through time and space. As it wasn't accounted for in the storage log, I could begin to calculate where and when it will eventually arrive. Even if I were to succeed in sending it 2 centuries in the past, the odds that it will safely reach the hands of that hero of legend are infinitesimal at best. And yet the chance is not 0. And it is in remote possibility that I place my hopes. My ancestor, the first of the name I now proudly bear, once told me that the hero he befriended was, for all of her many talents, above all a woman possessed of great fortune. Fortune that suggested that the 12 themselves truly did smile upon her. Is this from one of the Bigsies? In that sense, it's not unreasonable to expect that it is indeed you who is reading my words today. And so I say, thank you, my friend. Thank you for saving our past and giving us hope for a brighter future. And above all, please look after him, won't you? Yours, Biggs, third of his name, 18th President of Garland Ironworks. Damn it! Damn it, Biggs, you clever sod. Oh, that's a nice little emotional cattle prod, isn't it? Ah, now I'm going to have to read the others, damn it. Damn. So, screw it. This is going to be a long video. Sorry, folks. It does seem to be the larger ones that... I hope they only start repeating after you've seen all of them. Because if it's random, that will be irritating. I can't imagine they're that daft. Oh. But I might be wrong. This could be awkward. Right, one more go with the large. Because if it is truly random, that's not a great idea. Or maybe there's only 2 for the large bottle. It's just going to keep on repeating it. Either that or Biggs has sent multiple bottles. Do. Either way, plenty of rising tokens for me. I think I can probably buy everything from the vendor now, including the red bottle is the champagne animation, which people like quite a lot. Oh, yeah, that's the. Yeah, I think it's just the 2 of them for that. I'm going to leave it there because I think otherwise... I know, we've got one more... Just try one more medium one. Yeah, we'll try one more medium one. And then I really do need to go and get some lunch. Because I've been up since 5:45 this morning. And it is very much lunchtime. Ba, 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 ba. Do. Right, last one, he says. Uh-oh. Hello, friend. Are you perchance enjoying the fireworks? You can be honest with me. After all, I'm just one of the humble artisans responsible for the show you saw today. To tell the truth, my colleagues and I are responsible for more than fireworks. Storms of pounding rain and bolts of lightning, auroras that dazzle in the sky, mystic lights and the glowing of crystals. The lights and mists that you see upon the stage are all crafted by our hands. Fireworks are a fleeting thing, are they not? They dazzle the eye and move the heart, but in the next instant they turn to smoke, then fade and vanish without a trace. Think, just for a moment, of how it must feel to put one's heart and soul and hours of blood, sweat and tears into creating something that lasts but an instant. But please do not understand. We say this not out of bitterness, but with honour and pride. For nothing gives us greater pleasure than to know that our humble efforts have, even in the smallest of ways, helped your star shine all the brighter. And know that we will continue to pour all of our inspiration and imagination into illuminating your grand stage. Yours, in obscurity, a humble artisan. May your stars burn brightly, friends. May your stars burn bright. For we are all dust in the wind. Or tears in the rain. Come, uncle! The mighty walls of UL'DAH were not built by one man. There were those that hewed the stones, and those that polished them. those that carried them and those that stacked them one atop the other until they reached the towering height you see today. And it is not just the walls. Much of what you see in the world is, in fact, the sum total of the blood, sweat and tears of countless men and women whose names and faces you will never see. And there is one more, who is essential to truly realise the creation of these wonders. And that is you. For without you, all the efforts of those nameless artisans would mean nothing at all. And so we speak in unison when we say, thank you. Always remember that you are the reason we devote ourselves to our craft. With gratitude, the nameless artisans of Eorzea. And I think we will leave it at that one, because I think that's a great sentiment to end on. The fact that a lot of people put a lot of time and effort and passion into creating things for us as players to enjoy. And credit sequences in games tend to get skipped. And I can appreciate that, not everybody wants to spend however long sitting through a credit sequence. And let's be honest, if you've watched the original 2.0 credit sequence, which goes on for, is it 2.5 hours or something? It's a long time. Admittedly, most of that 2.5 hours is the legacy players' names. My name's in there. But yeah, credit sequences in games do tend to get skipped or sped up. I tend to talk over them. If I am going to do a video on a game through to completion, I do tend to watch the credit sequences and spend that time talking about the game and the review, because I feel it's important that these people that have spent all this time get some representation. This is their work. And a lot of the time, we take a look at a product and we say, oh yeah, that's good, on to the next one, without thinking about the people that poured their souls into it. Yes, it's a job. Yes, they get money from it, and that is a reward. But I've always felt that the least we can do is take the time to at least look at their names and see who they are. That's just who I am as a person. I like to give thanks and gratitude to the people. Not just whilst I'm in the process of enjoying the game, but at the end when I'm saying, yes, these are the people that made that. This is the person that wrote this scenario. This is the person that did the voice acting for this character that I particularly liked. This is the team responsible for the music or the art assets. I like to know who these people are, even if it's just knowing their names. I mean, most people who play Final Fantasy XIV know who Naoki Yoshida is. They know who Soken is. They know some of the names of the people on the translation team, Koji Fox and so on and so forth. They know, but can't necessarily pronounce the name of the person that's the lead writer for this, just because of how good a story Shadowbringers has been. But I like to know those names. That's just the person that I am. A company has created and produced this game, but individuals, the building blocks, have put together this experience for us. And I'd just like to know who is this responsible for this and all of the other games that I play on my channel. I feel like I'm up on a soapbox again. I'm so sorry. I've been so preachy in this episode. There is a Reddit thread with the others. I haven't read through this yet, so I don't know what's coming up. But it's got all 18, so I'm just going to read through rather than having to run back and forth between the NPCs. I'll stick this in the center of the video. Right, so the first one is from the Keeper of the Message Board. We've read that. I haven't read this one. We hear that these days it's all the rage for adventurers to gather in small groups and paint portraits of themselves striking stylish poses. The /G pose. As humble art supply provisioners, all we can do is provide the canvas, the palette, the paint, and the brush by which such works of art can be crafted. And we realise there is much we still must do to allow adventurers to fully realise their aesthetic visions. And yet, Seeing the masterworks you are already creating each day instills us with pride and the passion to continue pursuing our craft. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts for allowing us to take part in this creative collaboration and look forward to providing you with yet more materials to add to your artist workshop in the future. Wishing you eternal inspiration, the art provisioners of UL'DAH. So they're the team that are responsible for outfit designs, glamour, guild pose, G-pose, and so on and so forth. The instrument maker we've read. The mahjong shooter we've read. Humble woodworker. Lately, there is nothing I enjoy quite so much as walking the streets of Eorzea's residential districts and stopping to admire the many homes open for public viewing. Seeing the furnishings my colleagues and I crafted with love and care, tastefully adorning such warm and welcoming homes, oftentimes in remarkably creative ways, is perhaps the single most enjoyable sight an artisan can experience. At times, the layouts are so eccentric and unconventional that I fear it is only a matter of time before they come crashing to the ground, but I am nonetheless impressed with the sheer creativity on display. As for us, we will do all in our power to continue crafting stylish furnishings and ornaments. May you continue to find joy in decorating your happy homes. With gratitude, a humble woodworker. So that's from the furnishings team, who every patch, almost every patch anyway, produce something new for people to put in their apartments or their free company houses and so on and so forth. Some of which are really, really detailed and quite intricate in how they work. The whole housing thing has been such a big deal for a lot of people. Right, we've done the minions one. We've done the artisans. We haven't read this one. A little bird tells me that Eorzea is a land where many a bard and minstrel plies their trade. Oh, what I would not give to visit that far-off land and hear their strummings with my own ears. Such is the vain dream I hold in my heart each day, as I sit in this dark room, pounding away against a great machine of levels, dials, and blinking lights. Countless sounds have been given life in this cold, dank place. Perhaps you have paid special heed to them, but doubtless many of you have not. There is no shame in this. On the contrary, this is proof that they have formed part of the natural fabric of this world. And yet, at some point in your adventures, if you could give pause for even a fleeting moment to take in all the sounds of the living world around you, nothing would give us greater pleasure and gratitude, an artisan of acoustics. I've said it before and I will say it again, the work of the audio department, especially the music composers in Final Fantasy, as a series as a whole, but especially in Shadowbringers, their work adds so much weight and gravitas to the proceedings. I have, since I finished the Shadowbringers storyline, I've done what I always do. I've gone, and undoubtedly what many of you have done, which is how you found my channel in the first place. You've gone to check out how other people have reacted to the story that you've just experienced, to see whether streamers, YouTubers have reacted the same way that you have. And invariably, I have seen people start sobbing or tearing up or welling up or trying to keep a straight face. Based not so much on what's been said, but as soon as a particular piece of music starts playing, the number of people that know what is about to happen just based on this particular piece of music has started playing, and it gets them psyched or emotional or something, that is testament, in my opinion, to excellent musical work. And it happens for me as well. You can see it in my playthrough as soon as certain songs come on, you can see me kind of turn slightly away from the camera because I'm starting to well up at the corners of the eyes. And being, a proper traditional reserved British person, a proper reserved traditional British person who is a teacher, who at some point students may well find this YouTube channel. The last thing they want to see probably is the guy that's in charge welling up on camera, but I don't care. Particularly, it's just I don't want to bawl my eyes out for the world to see. That's just the kind of person I am. Music has always been the number one thing that can affect me emotionally. Not just in this game, but in game, films, television, whatever. I can't say that I am a musician anymore. I have a background in music. Not a particularly high-functioning background, not a particularly amazing background in music, but I was all the way through, my formative years a musician. I played for orchestras and so on and so forth. County orchestras, so on and so forth. So music and I have a very, very kind of strong relationship. And when I'm writing my books, I write to music that helps spur me on and inspire the scenes that I'm writing. The Shadowbringers soundtrack, I know isn't available yet, but you can get the music from Shadowbringers, from game rips and so on and so forth. It is amazing to listen to. It's a brilliant soundtrack, even taken out of the context of what's going on in cutscenes and stuff. If you listen to the music from Amarot, the dungeon theme song, it brings back everything that you experienced in that dungeon. If you listen to the 2 tracks from The Dying Gasp, again, all of the music from Shadowbringers has that kind of extra emotional connection behind it. A lot of the music from Stormblood does too. Heavensward also has a lot of the kind of emotional weight and impact that Shadowbringers does. Stormblood, again, I'm trying not to harp on Stormblood too much because I did enjoy the expansion. It just didn't have that kind of emotional resonance for me. But the music, regardless of the actual storytelling, the music is excellent. The theme from the Shinryu fights is still probably one of my favourite pieces of music from Final Fantasy XIV. The that bit. I'm not going to sing. I'll add the actual tune in here if I can. I've got it somewhere because I've got all the soundtracks. So yeah, the artisans of acoustics are probably some of my favourite designers in Final Fantasy XIV because they just keep doing superlative, stupendous work. Humble stage director we've read. Many a vista we have painted on our canvases, from familiar surroundings to far-flung locales. If even 1 or 2 of them have left an impression on you, there is nothing that would make us happier. And yet all we can do is provide the backdrop, the stage on which you, the star of this adventure, will shine. From skies of azure and seas of ruby to the gentle darkness that comes after the light, ever will we continue to put brush to canvas, that you might bring the worlds we draw to life. Ever with you, a humble landscape artist. Going back to what I've just said about watching the reactions of streamers and YouTubers to the Shadowbringers storyline. The very first time they round that corner down in the Tempest and they gaze out across Amarot for the first time, there are slack jaws everywhere. There are those extra beats, those extra moments of silence as they stop to take in something that they were not expecting, that they clearly did not expect to see. Rapture and Zanarkand are words that spring to the lips of many, many people that I've seen. A lot of expletives and shocked screaming also part and parcel of it. Time for a magnificent introduction to an underwater city. Is it Rapture?
By the gods.
It's Rapture, isn't it? And it's been taken over. It actually is Rapture. Wow. I don't know what I was expecting, but this wasn't it. The vistas of this game are impressive. Ridiculously impressive. The size and the scale and the scope of a game that back in 1.0 was criticized for having a lot of copy-paste terrain and scenery. And it was criticized in 2.0 because they took this massive open world with no zone lines and they chopped it up. It's like, oh, that's very backwards. When you've got places like World of Warcraft that are reasonably seamless between zones, it's like, oh yeah, they're going back to Final Fantasy XI style of zone lines and this, that, and the other. And then you take a look at what they're doing today with places like the Tempest, places like the Sea of Clouds, places like the Churning Mists. There are places like the Wall in Calusia. Is it the Shining Wall between the lower level and the upper level? The scenery of Mount Gulg as a dungeon is ridiculous. That's just for a dungeon. Final Fantasy XIV is a game that lends itself very, very well to the taking of screenshots, especially at night. I've spoken at length about how I feel the lighting engine in Final Fantasy XIV as a whole works best when it is dark. But even when it's light, some of the vistas are breathtaking. For a game that is optimized to run on as many kind of machines as possible, the skyboxes still look better than a lot of modern games. Games that are designed to be run at like really high level hardware. Nothing warms my heart quite so much as when I see adventurers about town walking around wearing the clothes and fashions that I designed. At times, the colour and outfit combinations are beyond anything I'd ever imagined. This in turn inspires me to not rest on my laurels, but rather to strive to create yet newer and more eclectic fashions. So to you, who I may never meet and whose name I may never know, I have only this to say. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing the clothes of my creation to walk with you. Yours sincerely, a humble fashion designer. So the guys that create the armor sets, the clothing, the outfits, the glamour pieces, the cosmetics. There's a lot of stuff in Final Fantasy XIV, a lot of gear. Some of it I see on lots of people, some of it I don't see on many at all. But having that many choices and that many interesting outfit designs is great. It's brilliant. A tale is not complete the instant the author pens the final word. No, it is not until the reader then takes the tome in hand and the words enter their eyes, their heart. Only then does the story told in those pages truly come to life. One could say that you are not only the protagonist of this grand tale of adventure, but also, in a sense, one of its authors. Your thoughts, your decisions, your actions all serve to dictate the course of the story. And so we hope that you will continue to enjoy with all your heart the adventures here. May you ever continue to breathe life into this world. Sincerely, a teller of tales. I watched a clip in between recording the bit of this video with me actually doing the quests. I watched a clip that was linked on Twitter about the Shadowbringers writer. They're talking on a panel at PAX East, I think it is, and somebody asks who they are, or gets them to introduce themselves, who they are, what they're responsible for. And as soon as they say that they are the main scenario writer or Shadowbringers, the entire room erupts into applause. The clip is like two plus minutes long, and there is applause for the entire thing. And the camera pans round, and the audience members start standing up. Standing ovation for a writer. Don't get that. Don't get that very often, that kind of appreciation. And yeah, that just goes to show just how well received Shadowbringers has been in terms of its storytelling. There are always going to be people that dislike a story. There are always going to be people that get confused by this, that, or the other. Even, I do all the time. There are always going to be people that play MMOs for the end game and the mechanics rather than the story. There are going to be people that play FF14 not caring about the story at all. In my opinion, they're missing out. But that's just my opinion, man. Games are meant to be enjoyed however you want to enjoy them within the limits of the game itself. Humble Artisan, the fireworks, we've done that. Right, these are the large ones. Oh, there's more of these than I thought. Right. Fledgling Adventurer, I pray this message finds you well. Though your journey has just begun, I sense you will yet make a name for yourself. You must all start somewhere, as I once did. And though not every avenue will lead to fame and glory, I have faith in you. Wherever your travels may lead, always remember this. You are not alone. When you stumble, there are those who would catch you. When you lose your way, there are those who would guide you back to your path. Perhaps someday, you will be the one taking the lead, showing others how it's done. Until then, keep fighting the good fights, and may good fortune befall you. Yours, a fellow adventurer. Right. Do these change then, depending on whereabouts in the story you've got to? Because this wouldn't make any sense for us to pick up. It feels like only yesterday that the vows sworn on the shores of Silvertear Lake marked the beginning of the 7th Astral Era. You may not remember me, but I was there alongside you. Well, figuratively speaking, as we launched the attack on the Praetorium. I'll never forget the way you cut through the Imperial lines like a hot knife through butter. My unit would have been slaughtered if you hadn't arrived when you did. I was sent back to my hometown to recover from my wounds, but I wish I could have thanked you in person. Still, I'm grateful for the chance to see my family again. I would have you know that they appreciate your heroic deeds every bit as much as I do. Your comrade in arms, fellow Grand Company soldier. So if you've completed the 2.0 MSQ, I bet you get that one. I can still remember the day you came swooping into Ishgard on the back of that dragon. I recall that it took even Sir Emmerich a moment to realise you were friend and not foe. I must admit, I was one of those archers prepared to fire upon your draconian steed. It's a good thing I was wearing my helmets, as I have no doubt my face was beet red with embarrassment when we saw it was you. Having said that, I'm sure I would have been lost among the crowd as there were a fair few of us there to mark your return. Unfortunately, being one of the rank and file makes it rather difficult to directly express my gratitude for your brave deeds, which is why I chose to pen this letter. Even then, I must rely on the tides of fate to carry these words to you, though as you have proven, miracles can, and often do, happen. Ever your comrade, devoted Temple Knights. And then we've seen these last two before. So yeah, I'm guessing whichever one you get changes depending on which how far you've got in the story. So if you haven't finished Shadowbringers, you probably don't get this last one, but you do get the one above it because you finished Stormblood. Right, back to the rest of the video. That is going to do it, because otherwise I think I probably will just keep on waxing lyrical, and I'm not trying to force my point of view or my take on these things on anybody. Thank you all guys very much for watching this look at the Rising. I see you, Mr. Shark. I'd be really interested to hear from anybody in the audience, and especially anybody who's stuck to the end of this video. I'd love to know your thoughts on, credit sequences in games, who you thought in particular should really be picked out, especially in Shadowbringers. And I'd love to know your experiences with the game prior to Shadowbringers. Are you fresh in? Did you hear how good Shadowbringers was and say, oh, now's my time to jump into Final Fantasy XIV? Or have you been here since the start of Realm Reborn? Did you play 1.0? Were you an alpha or beta tester? for either 2.0 or 1.0. What were your thoughts and experiences? How has the game improved for you? Or if there's something from previous versions of the game that you think they should bring back, what is that? Leave it all down in the comments below. And hopefully, folks, I will catch you all in the next Final Fantasy XIV video. Until next time, thank you very much for watching this very soapboxy episode. And I'll catch you all next time. Cheerio. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, why not click the like button and consider subscribing. Remember, you can ring the bell notification icon to get notified when new videos go live. And until next time, cheerio.